The Unchosen Child, a gentle reflection of sensitive hearts, a companion on the crossing, written and spoken by Janet Foster, Seasons of Me, Whispering Oak Press. There are times in life when we realise we are no longer at the beginning, but not yet at the place we thought we were heading. We are somewhere in between. The middle waters, where the shore behind us feels too far to return to and the shore ahead is still only a faint line in the distance. It's often here that we meet a companion, not someone who takes the wheel, not someone who tells us who to be, not someone who rushes us forward, but someone who sits quietly near the light. They don't shout over the storm, they don't explain the sky, they don't pretend the crossing is easy, they simply stay. When the night feels long, when the questions grow heavy, when loneliness leans in close, they remain. Not to fix our life, not to rescue us from it, only to witness us moving through it. And slowly, gently, we discover something changes. The water is still deep, the horizon still uncertain, but we are no longer crossing alone. And sometimes that is enough to keep going. And for some of us, that companion is something quiet growing inside us. The part of us that learned to survive early, the part that stayed soft. The child within who kept going when life was confusing and lonely. Sometimes as adults, we become the companion we once needed. We sit beside ourselves in the dark, we hold our own light, and that is a kind of healing too. The Unchosen Child story doesn't end. It softens, it changes shape, it becomes wiser, but it doesn't simply disappear. Not to be used up by the world, but to be cared for. To be cared for in a way that nurtures us, like a seed allowing us to grow, because through the trauma something else also formed. A sensitivity, a depth, a way of seeing. And slowly we learnt that this part of us is not a weakness, but a gift. And that we are allowed to be in charge of how that gift is used. We choose when to offer it, we choose when to protect it. Living in deeper waters. And living this way in deeper waters can make ordinary life feel louder than it needs to be. Sometimes because we learn very early to watch closely, to notice what might change, what might shift, what might become unsafe. A kind of quiet alertness that once helped us survive. We notice small shifts in people, change in tone, silence that others passed over. We feel the weight beneath simple conversation, the stories behind people's eyes, the sadness hidden inside ordinary day. And because we sense so much, we also learn something else. That we are allowed to choose, to soften a conversation, to change its direction, to step away when something feels too heavy, to close a door gently and without guilt. Sometimes this depth makes us tired, sometimes it makes us retreat, not because we are weak, but because depth requires rest. A part of healing becomes learning to respect this, to notice when we are carrying too much, to stop before we become overwhelmed, to honour the limit of our own nervous system. And part of healing becomes learning this too, that sensitivity needs quiet, that depth needs space. Space to reflect, space to gather what we've felt, space to make sense of what we've taken in. We go out into the world, we mix, we listen, we feel, and then we return to stillness, to sort it gently inside ourselves. That kindness must include ourselves. We are not meant to carry every feeling we sense. We are allowed to set our bundles down. We are allowed to choose smaller circles, softer lives, slower days. This is not giving up on the world. It is learning how to remain in it without disappearing. Healing can feel overwhelming at first. Changes can feel frightening. And then one day we realise this is something we will live with for many seasons of our lives. Healing comes like waves in the ocean. They arrive, they recede, they return again. And each time they bring a little more understanding, a little more wisdom, a little more clarity, until one day quietly we say, I did not choose what happened to me, but I have chosen what I become. Not because the past was good, but because the soul is capable of turning pain into depth and survival into tenderness, and that is how the unchosen child becomes a gentle kind of gift.